the most popular AI agent framework on GitHub, just stopped getting new features. Permanently, 60,000 stars, more than any of its rivals, and its own repository now reads, Maintenance Mode. That's AutoGen, and it's still sitting at the top of half the best agent framework lists published this month. So, what actually happened? Which of the other three deserves your next project, and what quietly replaced it? All four of these exist for one reason. The moment an agent has to plan, call a tool, check its own work, and hand a subtask to another agent, reliably more than once, without you babysitting it, you need coordination, not a longer prompt. 4 teams built 4 answers. Let's eliminate them. LangGraph, from the team behind LangChain, treats an agent as a graph. Not a chat loop, a graph, the same shape you'd draw as a flowchart. Every step is a node, every possible next step is an edge, and a shared state object gets passed and updated as execution moves through it. The payoff is a controlled loop. The model still reasons freely inside a node, but you decide where that loop can go. Force a specific tool call, insert a human approval step before anything executes. Hard code a branch instead of trusting the model to pick correctly. You trade some improvisation for a system you can actually debug. And nobody is consolidating LangGraph into anything. Of the 4, it's the most independent. CrewAI starts from the opposite metaphor, not a graph, a team. You define agents with roles, researcher, writer, reviewer, give each one a goal and tools, and CrewAI's own docs split the system into 2 layers. Flows are the manager. They define the steps, the logic, and how data moves through your application. Crews are the teams that do the heavy lifting inside a flow step. In their words, role-playing agents with specific goals and tools. It's built to feel like assembling co-workers. At 56,000 stars, it's the second most starred of the 4, behind only the one that stopped shipping. Also independent, also not being absorbed by anybody. Which brings us to AutoGen. It came out of Microsoft research with a genuinely different idea. Agents that solve problems by messaging each other back and forth like a group chat until they converge on an answer. It was one of the first frameworks to make multi-agent conversation feel natural, and that's a big part of why it collected 60,000 stars. Then, and this is the part you can go read yourself right now, its repository put a notice at the top. AutoGen is now in maintenance mode. It will not receive new features or enhancements and is community managed going forward. The README names its replacement directly and calls it the enterprise-ready successor. That is not a rumor, and it's not me reading tea leaves in a commit chart. That's the maintainers telling you. Microsoft's other entry is Semantic Kernel, older, more enterprise-flavored, built for C#, Python and Java shops that need the boring things enterprises actually require. Connectors, observability, security hooks, and a commitment to no breaking changes across a 1.0 plus release line. Microsoft's own documentation calls it efficient middleware and says Microsoft and other Fortune 500 companies are already leveraging it. Now here's the asymmetry that matters, and almost nobody states it correctly. Same company, same consolidation, 2 completely different fates. Semantic Kernel carries no maintenance notice, and it was still being pushed to last week. AutoGen was not. Being absorbed and being abandoned are not the same thing. So what absorbed them? In October 2025, Microsoft stopped shipping AutoGen and Semantic Kernel as 2 separate bets and folded both into a 5th thing, Microsoft Agent Framework. In Microsoft's own words, it unifies the enterprise-ready foundations of Semantic Kernel with the innovative orchestration of AutoGen. Their announcement frames it as the answer to a question developers kept asking. Why can't we have the innovation of one with the trust and stability of the other? And they are explicit about the transition. Both projects remain supported, but most investment is now focused on Agent Framework. The repo ships migration guides from both. That's the tell. You don't have to take a blog post's word for any of this, because the repositories are public and the timestamps are not marketing. As of late July 2026, LangGraph, CrewAI, Semantic Kernel, and Agent Framework had all been pushed to within about a day of each other. AutoGen's last push was back in April, months, not days. And we ran our own count on this. We recorded stars on all 5, 9 days apart. AutoGen, the biggest of them, added 242. LangGraph, at barely 2/3 its size, added 709. Semantic Kernel added 47. A total tells you what people tried once. The delta tells you what people are picking now. So which one actually ships? LangGraph gives you the most control and the most visibility into what your agent did at every step. And the cost is writing more explicit structure up front. CrewAI's role-based model matches how people already think about delegating work, which in our experience is what gets a multi-agent prototype standing up fastest. That's our read, not a benchmark. And that same abstraction can make it harder to see exactly why a crew made a decision when something goes wrong. And if you're already a Microsoft shop, the choice was never AutoGen versus Semantic Kernel, it's agent framework. There's no single winner because they aren't solving identical problems for identical teams. Small team Python needs something running today, CrewAI. Production system where you need to see and control every branch, LangGraph. Already inside the Microsoft stack, agent framework. And if you're on Semantic Kernel right now, you are not in trouble. You're on a supported path with a migration guide waiting whenever you want it. If you're starting a brand new project on AutoGen this week, don't. And notice what actually happened here. The interesting story was never whose abstraction was cleverest. It's that the company building 2 of these 4 names looked at them and decided they were one product wearing 2 different hats. That's what a maturing category looks like, not one tool winning, but the field agreeing on what the tool even is. So the next time somebody tells you to just use the popular one, remember that the most starred framework of these 4 is the one with a maintenance notice on the door. A star count is a record of what people tried once. A commit history is a record of what somebody still maintains. So which of the 4 are you actually running? And did you pick it, or did a star count pick it for you?